Hello, everyone, or whoever watches this. Good morning. Good morning. I decided to come on here and do a get to know High Priestess Jamila this morning. I have my coffee and I am going to close my door so that we will have reduced background noise because I have a noisy child. Close my door. And I am prepared to take questions, but not questions from trolls. If you come in here trolling, you will be immediately blocked. But I wanted to give people an opportunity to get to know me, how I ended up working professionally as a witch, and just, whatever questions that you have, mainly because, I'm mainly doing this because Um, there's a lot of stalkers, haters, trolls. Okay, I miss the days when trolls did not make videos. Trolls did not used to make videos. They just trolled in the comment section. But evidently, when they realized that people was just going to block them, they decided, I want to make a video. I want to make it real. My trolling. I want to make it real. So, I figured that I would give myself the opportunity to speak about who I am. Okay. So I guess I'll just start talking. I am originally from Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised. And I moved to the Atlanta, Georgia area in 2015. I believe it was 2015. Around that time, yeah. Yeah, it was 2015. And I've been here ever since. And but just to get into a little bit of my history, okay? I am the only child of a dancer, of a my mother was a dancer. Of course, she had other jobs. Of course, my mother worked. My father is a guitarist. Of course, he worked. And I guess what I want to put emphasis on is the jobs that I have worked. I had some struggle, in my youth. I didn't really feel as though I didn't fit in when I was in high school. I didn't feel that way. I just honestly, literally was one of those people that felt like I was too smart for school. I did. And so I've worked jobs since I was 16 years of age. And I worked primarily in the property management field. Obviously I started out jobs. I've worked um, for the Internal Revenue Service. I have worked data entry positions. I have worked customer service positions. I have even worked as a supervisor, a manager. I've even managed apartment buildings, which I personally enjoyed being a leasing agent. I did that first when I worked in property management, worked as a leasing agent. I have held a professional real estate license. I held that license for probably about 3 years. Didn't really do much with it at the time, primarily because of hate that I was getting. I didn't really feel supported. I think that was when I first sort of wanted to separate from family, was when I first got my real estate license. And because I didn't really feel that they supported me. Does anybody else ever I mean, I'm not angry at them or anything. I'm not. I don't have any regret. I don't deal with regret. I just keep it moving. Okay. Probably that's a part of my personality. I am a Cancer on the cusp of Gemini, directly on the cusp. Okay, I was born the 23rd of June. And I'm not the type of person to sit back and regret anything or to dwell on anything or to harp on anything. Okay. It's not that I don't sit down and think about the decisions that I make before I make those decisions. And it's not that I'm impulsive, definitely not an impulsive person at all. I always sit back and think about the decisions that I make. But when I was in Kansas City, let me talk about my family. I gave birth to 3 beautiful children, absolutely the life of my life. My children are the reason why I do any of this. Well, myself, of course, as well, but my children came into my life at a time where I had my children in my 20s, early 20s. My firstborn, I found out I was pregnant at the age of 23. And I felt like, I don't want to say that my children saved my life. I don't want to say that because it wasn't like that. It wasn't that bad. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? But they did give me a lot of perspective and taught me a lot of responsibility because I felt like I was really coddled a lot and just I felt too coddled. I wanted to grow up, you know what I'm saying? So I did have 3 beautiful children. And I suffered a very painful miscarriage with my fourth child. And after that, made the decision to have my fourth child after I had my angel baby. And at that time, I moved to Kansas. So I moved from Missouri is right next to Kansas. So it wasn't like, it was that big of a deal. But um, and I moved from Kansas to Georgia. Okay. And hold on a second. I want this thing. Hold on. Okay. I'm actually hungry. I just realized this coffee's making me hungry. Okay, so let's get back into the work history. Is it primarily what I wanted to talk about today? My work history. Um, so like I said, I've worked tons of jobs. I have over 20 years of work history. Always held down a job. There was never a time that I was not working unless I was on maternity leave. In fact, with one of my children, I made a huge mistake of going back to work when she was barely 3 weeks old. Huge mistake. I ended up getting sick. You should never return to work too soon after you have a baby. Um, but I had went back to work because I thought I was okay to work. I was working at the IRS at the time, so it was all good. I went in for maybe a few weeks and was like, I am not okay. I need to go home with my baby. But, that was during a time when, you know, I'm not going to really speak on the relationship that I was in at that time either. I just don't want to relive that or revisit that. But, I've held down a real estate license. But I'm sorry if this is all over the place. Let's go back to that. Let's drift back to that from when I was licensed in real estate. And that was well over 10 years ago. Well over 10 years ago. But I didn't really feel supported. And I hear a lot of people saying that, especially from my community, not feeling supported, not feeling like people want what's best for you. And there was some traumatic things that happened during that time. A lot of the times I have felt like it's against the law for me to do anything pivotal when it came to my career. And I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people that can relate to that as well. Being somebody in the Black community, it was, and I don't have an ignorant family like that. Like, they're not ignorant. I primarily felt that way from like coworkers because I worked for Sprint for quite a few years. I worked for Sprint for upwards to about 6 years. I worked at Sprint. I worked as a provisioning specialist. I was the one that, like, if you ordered home phone service through Sprint, because Sprint, I don't know if they're still doing that, but I was the one that did the provisioning, which is doing the coding and stuff to set up your phone line and rolling out the trucks and stuff. And I really, really liked that position until they hired a whole bunch of people, and these people were absolutely nuts. I honestly, I want to get into why I decided to start my own company. Okay, let's get into that, because part of the reason why is because I don't like necessarily working with people. Like, I don't mind it, but I just didn't like it. And see, before I started my own company, after the experience that I had at Sprint, which was awful, horrible, um, literally, there was a moment that I worked at Sprint, and there was this cute guy that started working there. He actually pulled his penis out in his cubicle. Shortly after he did this, I guess he got paranoid. I don't know, because most of the people at that job that I was working at Sprint, they smoked marijuana. Okay. And this was a professional office, like beautiful office. Okay. And a lot of them on their lunch breaks, they would go and they would smoke marijuana. I was in my mid to late 20s then. And so I don't know if he got paranoid after that, but then all of a sudden he kind of started acting crazy towards me, and like it just went downhill from there because this man couldn't keep his penis in his pants. It was weird. Anyway, so I worked there for years before he came, and then after he came, I ended up leaving. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not. Can I be frank? Can I be honest? When I first started working for Sprint, there was literally my boss, who was an older black woman, cool lady. There was primarily women. As soon as they started hiring men, things got crazy. It's so, like, I swear to God, is when it was just women working up there. It was, I mean, it may have been a few, and I'm not trying to talk about black men. I'm just giving my honest account. So please don't think that that's what I'm doing. But this is literally what happened. Like, there were 2 to 3 main characters that I had issues with at Sprint, and they were all black men. I'm sorry, I just got to keep it real. They were all black males. And, they lied. They would lie. They tried to stop me from being promoted. It was awful. One of them, I remember, like, going to his cubicle for something. I think it was to ask him a business related question. And he actually spoke to me about his heroin addiction. And I was like, okay, wow. And I'm not joking with you guys. So, and you know what? You can take it how you want it, but it just, so I eventually I ended up leaving Sprint because it just deteriorated from there. In fact, one of the managers, because I didn't, like, everybody else at the office was just like, "Oh, you're so cute." I still have pictures of them too, pictures of these 2 men. Yes, I do. Everybody would just be surrounding this guy, and, "Oh, he's so cute," and da 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 da. And I was the only person that didn't do that, and I guess he didn't appreciate it. So, it was an issue there because I wasn't trying to sleep with him. I was there to work and go home. I had a life already at home anyway. So, I left there and I started working from home. And that's when I felt like I found my match working from home. I didn't have to save money on gas. I didn't have to, uh, I didn't have to commute to work, even though I had to get the kids on the bus stop. That's pretty much, the bus stop is like right there, it wasn't that big of a deal until I moved to Kansas. And Kansas was different. They had buses in Kansas, but if you lived within a mile of the school, they expected the kids to walk. And I think it's the same way in every state. But other than that, it was easy peasy. And I worked for, I believe it was it Best Buy customer service, and then I worked for Sprint customer service from home as well. Um, there was another company that I worked for. I would literally have to look at my resume, one of my old resumes, to tell you, because honestly, I mean, I have literally had my own business for upwards to, it'll be 10 years was when I started actually running my business. I only say that it was in 2016 that I established Divine Services. But actually I started, going on my spiritual journey, my spiritual path, as a professional spiritualist or witch, or, whatever you want to call it. Um, in 2013, actually, was when I started making that transition. And I haven't regretted it since. Um, it took me about 3 years to transition into getting established as a spiritualist or as a witch professionally. And then it took me an additional 2 years to get things off the ground. And I just felt like everything that I had went through in life was spirit leading me to this. Now, I understand people having problems on the job. I never had problems with my bosses or supervisors. In fact, my bosses and supervisors loved me. And you know what? If I would have been practicing back then, things would have went a lot different. Things would have went a lot different, especially that guy that pulled his wanker out in his cubicle. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Yeah, things would have went a lot differently. But I was still kind of young and dumb and didn't really understand. Um, I didn't really understand what kind of world we lived in. Okay, I didn't really understand. I didn't understand that we lived in a world of witchcraft because we do. Okay, but all signs pointed to it. All of these weird experiences. I realized though what I was aware of and what I started to become more and more aware of was how witchcraft was affecting my life. Somebody literally was doing work on me back then. Okay. I did not realize that during that time I was actually cursed. I didn't realize that I had a curse on me until I miscarried that baby. That was painful. And I was vlogging. I started vlogging on YouTube in 2011, 2010. And I had a channel. It was just like a literal all purpose channel. Had lots of subscribers, even earned an AdSense paycheck from it. Things were going great. Again, until a black male came on here, started vlogging and speaking out against single mothers. And at the time, I'm thinking, well, I'm a single mother. This is weird. What is this? Right? This is what I'm literally thinking. Like, first thing I was thinking was, how is that legal? But, you know, and I made one video response to this person. This was in 2013, because this guy on here was claiming that black women didn't love their children. Literally. And I was like, that doesn't sound accurate. I mean, I've seen black women take their children for granted. I've seen all races of people take their children for granted. I have. Okay. And I've actually seen, but I've seen black mothers that do love their children. I was one of them. So I made a very innocent, very respectful video response to this person. And so be careful if you ever come to YouTube. Just kind of get out of your feelings and just don't make videos to some of these people. Do not. Hey, good morning, Shamika. Grand rising to you too. No matter how outlandish it is, do not respond to some of these people on here. Like, that's probably about, I don't want to say that I regret it, but I did notice that I started getting trolled and harassed by people that obviously didn't like Black women. And see, I have never dealt with racism firsthand. Never, never. I had never experienced it ever. The first time I did experience it, it was at the hands of a Black man. It was very strange. And I mean, I basically made a very respectful response to this person, like, and just asking him, how can you stigmatize and one race of people? And his response was by roasting me. And I was just like, oh, okay. And ever since then, it's been harassment by the Black manosphere. It's so sad. It's it. I swear to, I don't get it. I really don't. I still don't understand it, and I mean, I understand it, but I don't compute it. I don't. I don't compute it. All of the hatred. But by that time, I was vlogging part time. I was also working a part time work from home job. But at the time, as soon as I moved to Kansas, I don't know if it was because I moved to a different location or I started to get all of this clarity, but I just all of a sudden got into crystals and candles, and it just all came flooding into me. All of it did. And I started immediately started visiting some of the witchy shops over in Kansas. Had no intentions in doing harm to anybody, more so healing myself. And that wasn't until after I gave birth to my youngest child, and maybe even some spiritual defense. But, it all became very clear to me, that I had the wool pulled over my eyes when it came to how my life was being affected negatively by witchcraft, to where it was almost like everything was being manipulated. Somebody was definitely manipulating me with witchcraft. And so I set up my first altar in 2014. And I had this huge crystal ball, huge, because at the time, I had signed up for, I was already doing spiritual work, but I wasn't doing it to that capacity. But I had gotten this huge crystal ball, and I had started getting contacted by the Fae, and it was like all of these spiritual experiences that I had started having. And I can tell you that it's very, very real. Okay. And you can even tell because as soon as you start practicing, as soon as you buy one quartz crystal, people are at arms. I guess people that mean to do you harm, they're at arms because of it. Do I suggest just picking up these crystals without knowing how to use them? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't suggest that. Just looking back at my experiences, I would not just do that, because you have to actually clear the crystal when you first get it, any crystal, except for selenite, because selenite cleanses itself. I still would, even with selenite, I would still like maybe, give it a rinse with some water, maybe bury it in some dirt or something, but that'll actually make the selenite dirty. But you have to program and charge those crystals with your intent on how you intend on using them. Okay, so that's just from personal experience, but my whole life led me down this path Because when spirit calls you, it's a huge calling. And see, I had already suppressed a lot of the things that I had grew up with, going back to my childhood. Um, my auntie raised me until I was 5 years old. And I had experienced trauma from death at a very young age when her son passed away of leukemia. And, obviously she was very traumatized as well because that was her only child. Okay, obviously. And I just growing up, she would always tell me, you can communicate with dead people. She would tell me that. She would say, you used to communicate with my son. And she would, every time I would see this lady, she would drill it into my head. She would literally drill it into my head every single time I saw her. And I kept wondering, why does she keep telling me that? Like, I'm talking about over and over again. She would get into detail about his death, about the fact that I was there when he passed away, about the fact that after he died, I would pick up my toy phone and literally speak to him on the phone. And I didn't think much about it. You know what I'm saying? I was a young kid. This is all the way up from my teenage years until like my 20s. And then it wasn't like, I guess I was slow. I kind of slow on the upkeep. And, I didn't catch on to it until I was almost 30. And, that was a trip. And so I don't know, everything, but just as far as starting my company, everything that I had went through in the workplace led up to me starting my company because I started having this intense fear and social anxiety dealing with people on the job in particular. And I realized that the reason why I was dealing with that is because these people had energies and spirits attached to them that would scare the hell out of me. And so, that's how divine services came about in 2016, officially in 2016. And I've been doing this ever since. I've been going by this channel's anniversary date because if you notice, if you go to the About tab, this channel was started in December of 2016. Wasn't it December of 2016 or was it 2015? But actually, I'm about to come up on my 10-year anniversary as being a spiritualist. And yeah, let me go to my About tab and see. So, you know, no, actually it was December 24th, 2015. So I just celebrated my 7-year anniversary, technically. Okay, but it was a few years before that when I had started going down my path. Um, I plan to stay on my path. I will never be deterred from my path. It was the first time in my life that I actually felt freedom ever, that I felt financial freedom, that I felt like I was actually in control of my destiny. Prior to that, I felt like somebody else was controlling my destiny. And it wasn't God. It most definitely was not God. It was something else. And it wasn't the devil either, because a lot of people would say, I never really bought all of the church stuff. Like, never really felt comfortable with it. Never, and I sought after more answers. Even though I grew up in the church, in a Baptist church, my uncle was a Baptist preacher. Okay. I believe he was Baptist. Yeah. And, so there was a church that, family owned church back in my hometown. Beautiful church too. It wasn't one of those run of the mill churches. It was to me, when I look at that, if you guys look up Paseo Baptist Church, hello, unknown person. If you look up Paseo Baptist Church, it does not look like I mean, it was really, really a huge church. Maybe it was just because I was and it looks huge to me, but yeah, it was almost considered to be a mega church. But I never went. It's a beautiful church, and it like y'all should look it up, Google it. Beautiful church. It looks like one of those like ancient cathedral churches. You know what I'm saying? And so my uncle, we called him Uncle Sonny. He was such a cool guy. Like, and he passed away years ago, and I think someone else is now heading the church. But of course, he will always be. Oh man, it's beautiful. Go look it up. It's called Paseo Baptist Church. It's in Kansas City, Missouri, 2501 Paseo Avenue. Gorgeous, very historical church. Um, so I'd like to think that I have my gifts passed down through the family, obviously. I do a lot of exorcisms in my practice. Okay, the exorcising of demons and bad spirits. And so I can see where I got that from. But I'd rather walk my path my way. I don't feel that I need to be Christian per se. I really don't. So, you can do the same thing and consider yourself to be pagan or Wiccan. So, it's kind of in my blood. Okay. Um, and I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable doing what I'm doing. And there's a lot of things that I really would like to explore on this channel, such as summoning spirits. Um, by the way, I wanted to just say this real quick. If anybody has seen that new movie called The Reading with Monique in it, I would never do my readings like that. I don't accept possession by spirits at all. No. And my spirit guides are way too protective over me to just allow a spirit to take over my body. No, that's not how we typically do. In fact, in a lot of the movies where they speak about readings and being a medium, it's always the person becoming possessed by the spirit and speaking to people. I don't allow myself to become possessed by spirits. It's always through third party messaging or if you want me to communicate with somebody, or if I have to communicate with somebody that's on the other side, I have spirit guides that are right there that are fiercely protecting me. I don't do that. Mm-mm. That's so I think a lot of people kind of think it's literally like that, but you control that, like you navigate that, because no, I would never do that. No, no. So, I've been doing it for years and I love it. I do. I love it a lot. I would like to have that as the main focus on youtube.com. Um Unfortunately, I do get stalked every single day on this platform. I'm not surprised, trust me. Like I think that the stalkers think that it's a shock to my system. It's not. Doesn't shock or surprise me at all. In fact, I can totally understand what the obsession is. Literally, I can because I've experienced that sort of my whole life. When I realized that somebody was doing actual sorcery on me was when I went to the mall in Kansas City and some strange man, like it had never happened before. Some strange man, for some reason, he starts raging at me in the parking lot. And I'm like, what is this dude's problem? That was also when I realized how protected I was, or I am, because he was acting really nutty. You know what he did? He drove off because he was acting really crazy. But something, when I look back at that situation, at the time, I just kind of I was shocked about it, right? I was actually very shocked. Um, but now that I think back about it, it was it was a negative spirit um, that kind of sort of, made that happen. And then, of course, some of the dreams that I'd have. I mean, my mother would always tell me that she would divinate through her dreams. Every day it was a dream that she had, but then my mother stopped dreaming because she stopped sleeping. My mother started going through insomnia, and I really, really tried to help her. When I was in Kansas City, Missouri, after my mother had her mastectomy, um, I was literally her caregiver. Did not want to go back home. Was forced to go back home because I had to get the kids to school because she was. I had such a close relationship with her, and I didn't want to leave her, but I had to because I lived in Kansas and she lived in Missouri. And I don't look down on anybody's religious beliefs, unknown person. Honestly, I believe that if your religion is bringing you healing and it brings you comfort and it's actually helping you, I think that that's okay with me. But I think that when people decide to go out and be judgmental, I believe that that is mental illness at its finest. When you because even when because there was a time when I considered myself to be Christian. Not once did I ever go out and attack witches. Not once did I ever. Even when I had first started my YouTube channel, and I never really went into the witchy community. The first of all, the I think that there's certain sections of the witchy community on here that are great, that are amazing, but I got to keep it honest with you. I feel that a lot of people in the witchy community are under possession. And I can always recognize possession. And possession is not always a bad thing, but I think that when it causes you to lose sight, that's when it's a problem because you're supposed to have clarity. You're not supposed to get things confused. You're not supposed to be a catalyst for that energy. I don't believe in that. I don't. And I'm actually, there's been times when I've been quite disturbed by it, but there's certain channels that I watch. To be honest with you, Hearth Witch is one of them. The Witch of Wonderlust. I do watch Arabian Conjure. I wish she would upload more. Lady Grave Dancer. Um, Erica Moon Raven. I think that's her name. Erica Moon Raven Star. Um, I used to watch a Shira Star Goddess a lot until she started talking about other stuff. I still watch her from time to time. Um, if you guys can think of some good channels to watch of African American witches, please do suggest those because I like to watch those channels in my spare time. Um, there are some people that I thoroughly enjoy their witchy content, but then again, there's some people to where I'm like, I can't jive with it. I can't j- I can't jive with it. I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's mm-mm. And then I just think there's a certain amount of knowledge that you're supposed to have. Deep down inside of me, I have went to my spirit guides and I have asked them, why can't I do anything about the people stalking me? I have actually felt bad, like it's like this, but I don't let it turn into paranoia because my spirit guides have told me there are some people that just like to attach to other people. It's not your fault. My spirit guides have actually had to come to me and say it's not your fault, because if it were something, anything that I could do about it, I would. And see, when I first started my company, I had people attacking my babies. If it were not meant for me to be on this path, I would have left a long time ago. I am very 1,000, 1,000,000% confident that I have the ability to protect my children always. In fact, the children are almost, well, my three oldest children, they're grown now, you know? And so I don't feel afraid for my children, but I will practice defensive magic and I will send back negative energy because that's what those people are doing. Those people are trying to throw negative energy. They're trying to literally mirror me. And I'm sorry, no. And we are not the same. Okay. Okay, my beliefs don't bring me comfort. It brings me peace. With the pain that I must face, it holds me to a higher standard and keeps me from hypocrisy. Yeah. What pain though? I feel like if you are experiencing any amount of pain, keep in mind I'm a healer. I feel like you should, that's something that you can deal with. So like, I guess no, you know what? You would have to, I'm not going to get you to telling your business in my chat room. You're welcome to contact me if you are experiencing pain, because there's a better way of living. I don't, honestly, because I've had people say you must have nerves of steel. I do, but I have very good spirit guides. I do. I always have had. I believe in guardian angels. I have guardian angels. I've actually had people try to make me feel like I'm not protected, but that's based in racism and ignorance, where they want to make, I guess, Black people feel unprotected. And you know what? Like, I never liked racism, not on any capacity. I've never looked at another person and decided I hate them because of their race ever. So that's not my karma. A lot of people have tried to tell me, oh, you're getting your karma. No, I'm not. Not at all. That has nothing to do with me. Okay. Now, I will tell you that people will try to project their crap onto you, and I'm not going to do it because I don't have hatred in my heart, but I am very defensive when it comes to my babies and my children and the people that I love. I will go to battle. I will. And, I'm a nice person, and so I just, But it's my path that it was always meant for me to take, and I'm going to stay on it, and nobody is going to deter me from that path. Nobody is going to make me feel bad because I'm a witch. I grew up hearing stories about my grandma, my great grandma being a witch, along with being encouraged. I was actually encouraged my entire life to take my path. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's also, I feel that it is something to distract you. It is because I don't honestly, if somebody turned on their camera or either called me the Nigger word in my face, you know, I would I would just as easily forget about it. It wouldn't be on my mind all day and night because it's not important to me. Obviously, I would protect myself, but it wouldn't be something that would ruin my day whatsoever. I refuse to let racism ruin my day, but very, very protected. I always feel protected. There's not a day that I don't feel protected. And I feel that witchcraft gives protection to women of all colors. So I'd say the number one deity that I go to when you have that wounding when it comes to being a witch because people are so judgmental is Hecate. She actually heals witches that are going through that. And, quite quickly, too. She brings a lot of comfort and peace and healing energy for witches because it is a shame. Because even though, of course, there's witches that they are not good people, but there are a lot of us that are very good people. And But even sometimes to survive being a good person, you have to do some bad things. Okay. Because otherwise you won't survive, especially if people are attacking you, especially if people's spirits are attacking you. My spirits don't attack nobody. So that's a lie. People those aren't my spirits that are just randomly attacking you because I don't see any reason why somebody, if I haven't said anything to you in days and days and days or acknowledge what you're doing and something is attacking you, that's not necessarily my spirits. That's something else because my spirits don't attack you unless you attack me. And sometimes they will attack people if you are doing something to harm me, they'll just start attacking you like just stop attacking me. And I think that when you are a witch or when you're working with a witch, you have to understand that that is literally what happens. That's literally what happens. You don't even really have to light a candle for that. Okay. But sometimes I do. Okay. But you don't even really have to light a candle for that. Your spirits are going to direct you when it comes to that. So, I think the rest of it can be maintenance or either, there's a lot of times that I personally like to, take preventative measures because people got curses on them, bad ones. And you have to be careful. But I'm going to wrap this up, you guys. I'm going to wrap this up. Unless you guys have questions, maybe I'll come back and do a part two to this a little bit later. Because my stomach is calling to me. And I got some things to take care of. So, you know, um, I couldn't see myself doing anything else, and I won't. This is something that I will do until the day that I leave this plane of existence. It'll never ever change. And why would it need to? It's a perfect match. I'm perfectly aligned with what I'm supposed to be doing at this moment. And it feels good when you have found your north, whatever that is. It's very difficult being a witch in social media because people fear what they don't understand. And do I want to be understood by my clients and the people that matter to me? If you're somebody that doesn't matter to me, I'm not going to beg you to understand me. I'm not that type of person. That's really literally not my personality. I am a crabby crapster. I am a crab. I don't know why people because a lot of people, and I honestly think that people will go to these zodiac channels and they will look at personality traits of zodiac signs, and they will look at the cancer, and they always lie on cancers. Oh, cancers are crybabies. Are We are literal. Do you know how vicious cancers can be? Cancers can be very vicious. Oh my goodness, naturally vicious. So people be lying to these people. I'm telling you, and I think that they assume that there's a weakness, and nah, it's not. We are equivalent to the Scorpio. You dealing with a Cancer, you're dealing with a Scorpio. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why people don't understand that. You're literally dealing with a Scorpio, a scorpion. Okay, the only difference is that, crabs, when you see them, they're kind of goofy. They're like, but they have these big claws and they will claw you. Okay, so cancers are not necessarily and if you notice, cancers can be very defensive. So, quit thinking that cancers are weak because you looked at a video that said that they always do that. And that's one aspect of the Cancer personality, is the sensitivity, but that's not the main thing. So I think people are confused about that. Hmm. Oh, well, that'll be coming up. Ostara, that'll be coming up during Easter, definitely. But I invoke Ostara a lot, especially a lot lately. Yeah. But I really do love to do the what do you call that? Where you channel a spirit, because there's a video with a lot of views on here where I channeled Michael Jackson, and I started getting a lot of hate after that. In fact, the hate increased. Which what's the point of the hate? If you are looking at me with hatred, I'm gonna know it. I'm gonna know it. That's the one thing about me, is that I'm an empath. But again, people assume that empaths are weak. Why would you assume that? Empaths are not weak. In fact, empaths have like super duper like spiritual gifts. Like, I wouldn't be messing with an empath. That's because I know, like, once you get an empath that has advanced in their spiritual gifts, you better realize that that ain't no good thing to do that. Yeah. Um Communicating with spirits may not necessarily be, that can be like beginners necromancy, because I think that we all do. I mean, even when you look at some newborn babies, that they'll sit there and you can see, like, sometimes you can see newborn babies communicating with spirits. But I think that when it comes to summoning a spirit for a specific purpose, as well as necromancy, to me, my relationship with necromancy is definitely working with spirits, but a big part of necromancy is placing spirits where they need to go. And I think that a lot of people practicing necromancy, and maybe this is something that they don't talk about, would be because I do offer necromancy work for people. For example, I have done love reunion spells and very basic love reunion spells, and that person will come back, but they won't be the same. And then I started realizing years ago that these people were not just leaving, their spirits were being snatched. And so I think that necromancy is really deep within that, but I think that that's something that people are afraid to talk about. But I actually do offer necromancy rituals for my clients because people's souls can be replaced with something that you don't want. Yeah. So, but I'll get into that in another video. I'm going to get out of here. I've got to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure that you guys hit that thumbs up and that you subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, being an empath is definitely a superpower. It is. It is so many things that can be done, but a lot of people, and see, I think that a lot of people are upset about that because they think, oh, you're an empath. That means that you're empathic. Not the same thing. Not the same thing, because empaths, what will happen is that they will feel taken advantage of so much, and they will feel stepped on, and they will feel used, and they will start to elevate their spiritual gifts to the point where if you have an empathic witch, oh my God, yeah, I wouldn't just be messing with people like that, but a lot of people do. And they get perplexed because as an empath, if somebody comes to me and they're being very evil, I'm going to match, if not go beyond that evilness. Keep in mind that that's what empaths do. They're almost like mimics. So you're going to meet fury. If you bring this, it is what it is. And, we can all, I mean, I want to be love and light. I want to be love and light all the time. I am love and light. But there are times when you have to defend yourself. And I think that there's some people that are on a mission to make you not like this life. And I think that if you let them get away with that, you're letting them win. You're letting them get over on you, because there's nobody in this world that can ever make me miserable enough for me to want to leave this world early or for me to not want to be here. Trust me. In fact, I saw a post by somebody this morning that said, due to personal reasons, I'm not incarnating on Earth. No, I love Earth. I love being here. So, it just, so I'm not that empathic to where somebody can change the way that I think, feel, see things. I just don't do that. And I've never been that type of person. That's why I've always been a great friend to people. Even when I was in high school, the time that I was in high school, when bullies would try to, because I had a couple of friends. I never was the type of person to just hang with a crowd, but I had a couple of friends in school, and people will try to come to me and tell me things about them to try to turn me against them. And no, you're not getting that over here. I don't let nobody change my perception of nobody. When I've made up my mind about a person, especially if it's somebody that I love and care about, and I have a deep level of understanding for that person, that's I will I am I am a rider, a true rider. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And people are too prideful to admit when they've made a mistake, and I think that that's going to get people in trouble. They make assumptions, and they want to stay in that false reality. You're right. Okay. So anyway, I could sit here and talk for a couple of more hours, so I gotta go. I'm gonna warm up my coffee and get some breakfast going because I am hungry. So I hope that you guys have a happy Thursday, Thor's Day. Okay. I was actually born on a Thursday. So that means that according to the Orishas, that means that I'm a child of Shango. You know, so yeah. And then Thursday belongs to Thor. So I always give him his props as well as Shango. So y'all have a good Thursday. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta go. I'm hungry. All right. All right, guys. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye bye.